It's Absolute Radio, and tonight we're lucky to have in session Tori Amos. Hello, Tori Amos.
Hello, Jeff.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, and you are kind of semi-British now.
Wow. I mean, I'm married to a very British husband, a very difficult and grumpy sometimes, but gorgeous.
Do you see that as a British characteristic?
No, I see that as my husband's characteristic, but he's very funny.
Right.
And the thing about him is, I think, that I fell in love with is that he didn't need to be a part of that whole red carpet lifestyle. And he drags me away by my hair when we're not touring. I think he likes to have me to himself. I don't blame him. I mean, I understand not wanting to become a part of that whole
absolutely.
schmooze scene.
And which part of Britain is he from?
He was born in London. His parents ran a pub. They're publicans in Shaftesbury Avenue. But then they moved up to just outside of Grimsby.
Right.
So he grew up there.
And have you spent time up there?
Not a lot of time. No, I haven't. I mean, I've seen it and I've been there and I got to meet everybody. But I've spent a lot of time in Cornwall. That's where he used to go with his parents as a child.
It's a beautiful part of the world.
It is beautiful.
And you recorded some of the album in Cornwall.
Yes. Mark has a studio, my husband there, and that's how our child can go to school. So we recorded the record there, yeah.
And have you acquainted yourself with pasties?
Yeah, no.
No?
No.
Of course, it's one of the great American cliches of Americans visiting the UK to moan about the food. But is there any British food that you've thought, actually, that gets a bad press?
Well, the
pickled onion?
No, yeah, gross. That's just so disgusting. I mean, there are things I have a difficult time with. But I must say, my husband's an amazing cook. And he gets fresh fish, and he's really good at it.
And is there any aspect of the culture? Because in modern times, in a globalised world, we're all living in very similar ways, but from one culture to another, there are certain things which are just completely befuddling. Is there anything about the British culture or British society that you can't get your head around at all?
Well, I'll say the best thing about you first.
Okay.
I think the best thing about you all is when things are, I think, gloomy and difficult. You all rise to the challenge. Your humor kicks in.
Yeah, the gallows humor, the blitz spirit.
And you're at your best, I think, when that's happening. I think, don't take this wrong.
Okay.
But I think when people start to have success, or there is success, not me, I'm a guest here, but I've noticed sometimes that dealing with success, you all sometimes feel a little bit guilty.
Yeah, we don't like it.
If you get too successful,
yeah,
then you start to feel, oh no,
yeah, exactly.
I'm getting successful.
If you see an American on a chat show, they're pleased about talking about their success. You see a British person on a chat show, they're embarrassed about it, and they want to deconstruct it in some way or stick a knife in the back of it.
That's true. And it's a strange kind of thing, because in the States, I think the whole idea is, oh, if they're doing well, I want to do well too.
Yeah.
But here it's, oh, they're doing well, I have to cut their legs off and tear them down.
I heard an interesting thing that a difference between the United States and Britain in the society is that if you see a guy with a really great car in America, you think, look, there's a guy with a really great car. If you see a guy with a really great car in Britain, you want to get your key out and put a stripe down the side of it.
I've heard that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is some truth in it. And how are your British accents? Can you do a Cornish accent?
I'm not very good. I can do my Mummy. Sometimes she'll do that. I don't like that. But no, I'm not. I'm one of those Americans who stayed American. I vote in the States. I mean, in a way, I truly try and be a very good guest, because the way I look at it is a lot of people would rather have guests at their Christmas dinner than family.
Yes.
I mean, I know that one myself. So I guess, no, I don't vote here. I don't assume or presume. I didn't grow up with this culture, so I don't really know some of these very deep-rooted issues that, say, my husband, For instance, he didn't want to live in the States. He just said to me, look, I'm crazy about you. I love you. I want to know what you're like at 80 walking down to the garden path, but I cannot live in America. And he told me why he didn't want to bring up a child in the States. He was worried about the violence. And this is his, I don't know, his, what do you call, power nexus. Britain is really, you can't take that out of Mark.
Yeah.
And he said, you're a better traveler, wife. You can travel. Get on a jet. So we have a bi-coastal, I have a, what do you call it? Some people have a bi-coastal relationship. I think mine's bi-continental.
And we've always, I think, this country, from memory, I've been like sort of racking my brains thinking when we first heard of you in the early 90s, we've always clasped you to our bosom somewhat. I think you're well received over here.
Well, that means a lot. I mean, that's always meant a lot to me. And I don't know. I think that I've tried to learn a bit your humor and how, at first, I have to tell you, sometimes I couldn't understand what anybody was saying. I would say, could you, especially if you get in the Mancunian, the accent.
That's where I'm from, and you're doing very well.
I'm doing good now. I can tell the different accents now. It took me a while, though, to understand, and when somebody would say, oh, go have a word with yourself, it took me a minute to know what these sayings meant.
Which then would make you seem slightly otherworldly, because there's like a split second while you're processing whatever somebody last said to you.
Yes, I'm still processing.
Right, you're here because your 10th album is out. Abnormally Attracted to Sin. 10 albums. That is quite a body of work. Do you see it like that? Do you see it as a huge chunk of your life there in those 10 records?
It means I'm an old lady.
Is that what it means? You're looking well on it.
Well, thanks. I mean, I like being in my 40s. I think having your 10th album, I wanted to cover a lot of compositional styles. There have been different ones in my career. I was known as a singer-songwriter, and yet the composer in me has wanted to stretch over the last few records and write things that aren't necessarily centered around the piano, but around maybe synthesizers or even other instruments. I just needed to stretch.
Yeah. It's understandable.
I'm not saying I won't do an album where the piano's more center, but before I went back to ever doing that, I needed to grow as a composer so that I wasn't repeating myself.
But there's no... Do you feel any sense of pressure that people who buy your records think, oh, Tori, she's the girl with the piano, and then as an artist you think, well, I better keep playing the piano because people like it?
I think some artists do stick to what they know because that's the kind of composer they want to be. But for me, I grew up listening to all kinds of things. Abbey Road was one of my favorite records. And so as a female singer-songwriter, that direction and then Abbey Road are two very different directions. And yet all my life, I've tried to say to myself, I want to expand and not always just write for the piano, but write things that other instruments can dig their teeth into.
Okay, well, you're gonna play a couple of songs live for us tonight, and
alone at the piano.
Yeah, what is that instrument you have there?
Yeah, stretching.
So in session tonight, here is Tori Amos.